Welcome to Jennette's Pier!
I'm Meredith.
I'm Rachel.
You're now at Jennette's Pier on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Of course, we're a fishing pier, but we're also part of North Carolina Aquariums.
And today you're going to be watching some of our virtual programs so you can learn wherever you are.
Welcome to our beach explorations program. Let's go see what we can find on the beach and I'll teach you all about it. So now you're at the beach at Jennette's Pier. We've taken a little walk and found some cool stuff, so I'm going to show you what I found. First up, I'm going to start with my shells. I have these black, kind of dark looking shells. They're very rough in texture. These are a type of bivalve, which if you don't know what a bivalve is, bi means two, valve kind of means like a door. So these two shells are going to stick together and they're going to open and close, open and close. There's several types of bivalves in our area, but these ones are called oysters. So you're going to have oyster meat, a soft little squishy meat on the inside, and it's protected by these two hard shells. So this first bivalve is called an oyster. The second bivalve I found today is this one right here, or here's a little bit of a smaller one. These ones are called clams. So same type of deal. These ones are going to stick together and they're going to open and close with that soft meat on the inside protected by this hard shell. So of course you'd have to have two identical ones sticking together. These ones weren't a match, but we find these on the beach a lot. The third type of bivalve I found today, these ones are my personal favorites. They kind of look like ruffled potato chips in a way. Here's a black version, kind of a more colorful version. These are called scallops. So same deal. There's going to be a soft squishy meat on the inside. They'll stick together and open and close, open and close. So these ones are cool. And my fourth type of bivalve shell I have found on the beach today are called mussels. They're the smallest one. So they're this little teeny tiny black shell. They can be bigger. I just only found small ones today. And again, they'll stick together just like the other bivalves and open and close. And these shells are protecting meat that are on the inside. So the four types of bivalve shells I was able to find today were oysters, clams, scallops, and mussels. I did also find some other shells though. Here's another one that I was able to find. They kind of do look like clams. They have the same kind of color and general shape. Get a little bit closer so hopefully you can see. These guys are called slipper shells though, because if you look very closely at the inside, it kind of looks like a slipper. Like if you had teeny tiny feet, I could slip it right in there. That's how these guys get their name. And they are actually a type of snail. So these are the slipper snail. And they live in a stack. I only have two today, but there can be more than two in their stack. And they're just gonna stack on top of each other and hang out under the ocean. The really cool thing about the slipper snail is that they have to have a female on the bottom of their stack in order to survive. Just like us as humans, we need certain things like oxygen, water, and food. These slipper snails need that female on the bottom of their stack. But what happens to every living organism once you get really old is that you die. So you would think that the entire stack of slipper snails would die if the female on the bottom is no longer alive. However, these guys can do something super cool, and if the female on the bottom is no longer alive, the male that's next up in line can actually change into a female to help the rest of the stack live on. Pretty cool thing about these really tiny little shells. My next shell that I have today is different. It's a curly shell. I have another one here. So these curly spiral shells are really cool. They're harder to find, so we got lucky today. These guys are snails again, and they are called the moon snail. Now if you've ever found a seashell on the beach that has a perfect little circle hole drilled into it, it happens all the time. People pick up a shell, it has a perfect circle, and it's perfect for jewelry making or making a necklace. These moon snails are actually responsible for that hole. So let's say I have my clam living underneath the ocean, and this moon snail is going to crawl on top of the clam. He's going to start licking it. Now the moon snail has very acidic saliva, and if you don't know already, acid can dissolve shells. So his acid can dissolve the shell. He can poke his tongue or his radula through the shell and slurp up all of that clam meat. That's the cool way that the moon snail gets his food, and the clam can end up washed up on the beach with a hole drilled into it. I have another spiral shell to show you guys, and this one's called the whelk shell. It's very large, much larger than the moon snail. These ones are also very hard to find unless it's maybe after a storm in the winter time. You don't oftentimes find these in the summer. And again, these ones are going to be a snail on the inside, so that soft squishy body, but some people think they're hermit crabs, and they can be. First up, they're going to be a snail on the inside. Once the snail dries up, then it becomes a hermit crab if the hermit crab crawls into the shell as its home. So it's a pretty cool, versatile shell. You'd be lucky to find one of these. Now I'll get into a little bit of a trickier item. I have some really kind of like dried up little potato chip snake skin looking things. These ones are hard to identify, and I didn't even know what they were at first either. So we'll find these on the beach every once in a while, and they're actually the whelk snail's eggs. So this will be kind of curled up on the inside of the whelk shell, and they'll be released into the ocean, and then little teeny tiny baby versions of the whelk snail will hatch out of each of one of these little pockets. They're very tiny. I have some inside that I'm going to show you later. Next up, I have another type of egg, and they're these black guys right here. They kind of look like a piece of plastic, but they're not. They are in fact an egg, and these eggs belong to the skate. Oftentimes people recognize these as the mermaid's purse, that's their nickname, but a skate will hatch out of here. If you don't know what a skate is, it's basically a stingray. So if you can picture that diamond-shaped body and a long tail hanging off the end, that is what's hatching out of here. The main difference between a skate and a stingray is that a skate has a prickly tail, whereas a stingray actually has the stinger that can harm you. So here's kind of another tail that I'm describing, but this is not a skate or a stingray. This one belongs to a horseshoe crab. It's very smooth, very hard because it's dried out for a while. Found this one on the beach. And then this is the rest of the body. I happen to have one of these already. We didn't find this one today, but this is what it'll look like. And this is the underside, all those legs. It kind of looks like a scorpion or a spider. And they will just be crawling along the bottom of the ocean. The cool thing about the horseshoe crab's tail is that it's not any sort of weapon at all. It's actually a tool for the horseshoe crab. When this guy gets flipped over upside down, maybe a wave pushes him over, his legs are up here and he can't get back onto his belly side. That's when a predator can come and start eating his meat. But the tail can help him. He'll jab it into the sand and shimmy himself back over the right way so that no predators can eat him. So, pretty cool. This part's very fragile. You'd be very lucky to find one of these on the beach as well. My last item that I'll show you today doesn't even look that important at first glance. It's kind of just a rock that has nice little air pockets or holes in it. This is a piece of fulgurite, and if you don't know what it is, it's just when lightning strikes the sand. So maybe after a thunderstorm, next morning you could come to the beach and find something like this. So now we're gonna head up to the classroom and I'll show you a couple other items that we have. So we're now at the classroom in Jennette's Pier, and I'm going to review a couple of the things that we already talked about down on the beach first to give you a good idea of what I was talking about. First up, I have this little test tube. You probably won't even be able to see it very well, but you can see the kind of the size, at least, of these little tiny baby whelk snails. Those were those giant curly shells I just showed you, and these are the tiny, tiny babies that hatch out of those little tiny snakeskin looking eggs. So they're very small and they grow up to be quite large. Another animal I touched on were the skate, and this is a skate's tail. As you can see, it doesn't have any sort of stinger, but it does have lots of prickles on it. These are the ones that hatch out of the black egg casings that we found down on the beach just now. And they differ quite a bit from the stingray, which I don't have a whole stingray tail, but I do have a Stingray Barb. This is what's going to come out of the stingray's tail. We were lucky enough to find one day, so I have it in this little petri dish here. This is the part that will actually do harm when the stingray stings somebody. Next up, I have some skulls to show you. First up, we have the sea turtle. You can see the sea turtle has kind of like a little bit of a beak of a mouth, and he loves to eat jellyfish. So it's pretty cool little shape. They're very large, can be up to 500 to 600 pounds sometimes. The sea turtle loves to eat jellyfish, like I just said, but the problem is sometimes these sea turtles are getting plastic bags confused with jellyfish. And this is, of course, bad for our sea turtles. One thing I like to encourage people to do is if you're outside and you see a piece of trash, just go ahead and pick it up and put it in the trash can. One thing that I like to do personally is I like to take reusable bags to the grocery store so that I don't even have to mess with that plastic to begin with. The second skull I have here is a dolphin. You can see its very long mouth with rounded teeth. It does have teeth so that he can catch fish, but the teeth don't have to be sharp because he just swallows the fish whole. There's also a few openings in the dolphin's skull. The one up here at the top, this is not the eyes, but this is in fact the nose, because a dolphin needs a blowhole. They breathe oxygen just like we do. And then these openings on the side are the eyes. I also have a shark jaw. You can tell it's a shark because of the many sharp teeth that it has. And if you look on the inside, there's lots and lots of rows of teeth. So we as humans have one set of baby teeth and one set of adult teeth. This shark has an endless supply. So as soon as it loses one tooth, the next one is ready to pop up in its place. This is what makes a shark a top predator. One misconception about sharks, though, is that they don't actually like to eat humans. If a human is ever bitten by a shark, it's just by accident. The last item I have to show you today is very large, and this right here is a whale vertebrae. So if you don't know what a vertebra is, it's a backbone, so part of your spine. And this one's from a whale, just one little bump on your back. If you feel your back and feel those bumps, this is just one of those from a whale. We also have one from a dolphin. A student that came to our beach one time was lucky enough to find this one, and they let us keep it for educational purposes. So I hope you guys have had fun today learning all about the stuff that we'll find on our beach. See you next time.